Morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning Namaste session, entering into the experience of that extension, which is what Namaste is. Namaste is an extension of love, an extension of holy seeing, seen holy, H-O-L-Y, and also seen holy, W-H-O-L-L-Y, to see what is whole. The traditional understanding of Namaste is that the Christ or the light within me blesses that within you. So it's an extension. It's a gift that we give to one another of wholeness. So today we're going to talk about that wholeness through the lens of what we call love. Love is something that we all say we want, something that we are, something that is our highest desire. But when asked to describe what that love is, it's going to probably have a different answer for each one of us. Often that answer is going to be attached to another person or to something. I am in love with, I love my daughter, my son, my grandchildren, my partner. But then it begins to expand out to include many more. But it's only when it includes every, I was going to say everyone, but even beyond that, or maybe to use those words, every one. When it expands to include every one. That doesn't mean every person. Of course it does, but it includes far more. It includes the whole, we could say, sonship, all of creation, the extension of the love and the loveliness of God. I'm looking into the back, and I didn't even try and time this to match this, but I see that the lesson of the day with the Course in Miracles is love creates me like itself. And that's perfect. Love is creating me like itself right now. In other words, love can only extend love. Love only gives itself. This is the essence right there. That's the answer right there. Love can only give love. Why? Because ultimately that is all there is. And the experience of that all there is what we are here for. We begin perhaps with just the idea because we in our split mind have tried to determine the experience of what is not. Does that make sense? We have in our split mind tried to see if it's possible for the what is not to be what is. But what is not can never be what is. Only what is whole and true can be that. And my willingness to simply relax into that and to allow only that is Namaste. The extension of what is whole and holy. Once again, love created me like itself. Love creates or extends only love. And my willingness, and that's where it begins, with my willingness to be a part of that extension. The truth is I am no matter what, but my willingness to be conscious of that, to allow myself to resonate with that, that's why we're here. So that being said, this morning I was reading a book that we've read from a little bit here in the past. It's a book called Journey Beyond Words. It was I guess you could call it channeling. I've probably said this before, I don't usually like the traditional understanding of channeling because it usually supposes that there is one outside of me who is wiser and holier and more illumined than me, who is now going to use me, this passive vehicle, as the means through which some message is going to be delivered. And that may seem to be true at a certain point, But ultimately, all of that has to collapse. We're going to hear that in this lesson in a moment. The idea that there is a me, the passive vehicle for this larger being to move through, is ultimately as separate and as erroneous as anything else. It does have a purpose. It can serve a very high purpose. But there comes a moment when we have to let that go in order to come into the experience. Not just to live within the lesson, but to live within the experience itself. When that me that I think is the passive vehicle dissolves, and even my ideas of God dissolve. And what am I left with then? Only love. That's why I was trying to play that song. Only love, only love, only love can lift me into heaven. Only love. So the first thing I saw when I opened up this book today was this line. The love of God actually is God itself. The love of God actually is love itself. That's one of those bombshell lines that if you take deeper than just the surface meaning, you breathe it in like it's incense. The love of God actually is God. Whoa. That's bigger than big. Bigger than big means that it can't really be contained here. It's beyond this world. It is the breath or the link that draws us out of this limited perspective. The love of God is actually love itself, is actually God itself. So I want to read a little bit of these lessons that Brent Haskell brought through. And I think it's going to, if we allow, it's going to bring us into a deeper pulse of what love is, what God is, and who you are, which is ultimately all the same. So, today I would speak to you more about love. Love is something you have spoken of so often in your life, and probably have never really understood. Today, I will help you begin to move toward the reality of what love is. The reality. We spoke previously about the love of God and how when God loves you, God in essence becomes you. When God loves you, God becomes you. When I use the word essence, I mean beyond your body, beyond your thoughts, beyond your imaginings. For beyond those is reality. Beyond all of those things is reality. Once again, drink this in. Don't just listen to the words, but see if you can feel the essence that's between those words. So, when God loves you, in reality, God becomes you. For God so loved the world, right? That God gave you, in the actual verse it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. That would be just another way of saying, so God so loved you that God gave you the extension of the love and the loveliness that is the essence of God. If you would but accept it. But unfortunately, the ego or the split mind is constantly saying, no. Thank you, but I'm okay. Do you get that? God is constantly saying, the love I feel for you is who you are. Accept this gift. And yet we, in the arrogance of the split mind or the ego, said, oh, I'm okay. Thank you, but no thank you. why in the world would we do such a thing when we're being offered literally everything? Okay, so once again, when God loves you, in reality, God becomes you and God is you. But in reality, here we go, there is no you. Hear me well. In reality, there is not even God. Do you see that? This is the point of no return. There is no you and there is no God. You do, in fact, seem to have a measure of individuality, and that measure you might always call yourself. But in fact, it can never be alone. It can never be unique. It can never be separate. Even God itself is the same. So all we're really doing in order to allow that experience that we're calling love to take over is to just allow that dissolving. I use that word a lot because I just like the image and the feeling of dissolving into the light or into the love of God. It's a surrendering, it's a letting go. Okay, take me, take me. Okay, a bit more. Creation was, in no sense, the development or the beginning of different souls. It says in no sense, which is another way of saying nonsense. The idea that there are differences, different souls, different bodies, is saying is nonsense. It's interesting. Creation was nothing more than expansion, an expansion of God itself, or love itself. And out of that expansion came what seems to be, in some measure, individuality, what seems to be, what appears to be. This is another way of saying it isn't really that, but it does seem to be that for an instant until you turn back. You see, the idea of seeming reality only happens when you seem to be moving away from your divine source, but you can never really leave what is all-encompassing. You seem to be moving in the direction of individuality. But the instant you turn around, which is the return of the prodigal son, the instant you turn around and realize this is never giving me what I really want, there's no reason for me to be moving in that direction. You turn around, begin that return, and you realize that there's no such thing as individuality. The single extension of the love and the loveliness of God. And out of that expansion came to what seems to be, in some measure, individuality. That seeming individuality allows for measures of creation which seem to come from different sources. You can hear that word seems many times. Seems to come from different sources. However, it is not so. For all is one. All is love. All is light. So give all to all. If you give all to all, even the idea of that is the solvent that gets in between those thought bricks that we have used to build this seeming world. It gets in between, where you would usually have mortar to hold the bricks together. What do you think it is that holds the bricks of this thought world together? If you had to guess, what do you think the mortar would be? Fear. Exactly. Fear or guilt, they kind of go in tandem. So what you're hearing here, if you accept it, is the solvent that begins to seep between those bricks into that mortar of fear and dissolve it easily. There's no work that needs to be done to do this. There's no real effort that's required. What's required is a gentle surrendering into love, a giving up of all of the ideas that seem to have kept me from that. Or like the lesson says, love created me like itself. And what love creates remains as it was created, no matter what. No matter how hard I try, and believe me, and we've all tried very hard to do the opposite, to say that love did not create me like itself. Because look at me, so weak, so vulnerable. But this experience that love has created me like itself, and I will remain as I was created for all eternity, no matter what, and my willingness to simply accept that, to fall back and to dissolve into that, that's what leads us into the experience that we talk about every day here. So, I'm going to be quiet now and let Vicky take over, because Vicky always has the perfect way of balancing this with experience. So good morning, Victoria.
Good morning, James. Welcome back. We missed you yesterday. Thank you.
All about it.
Well, this is the spin I take. As soon as you said love, what is love? So it's not the emotions, it's not any of that. And when we're in any kind of distress, we know it's not that. But what it is, and the experience that I'm always called back into, is there's that state of spaciousness that when we drop all thinking and all doing, and when I can relax into that state of openness or spaciousness, it's a certainty. It's a knowing. That's what I would say. There's a state of knowing that's natural. It's not full of effort, and it's not even full of specifics. It's a natural state of knowing. And all of us have access to it, no matter where we are in this work, spiritually or otherwise. It just is about focusing on being present and relaxing and wanting love or the truth or whatever name we give it. But that knowing is all pervasive. When we step forward, like when I step back into my day, it is a way of stepping back through recognizing what to do rather than negotiating what to do. And this realization of our Christ consciousness is that it's a recognition and acceptance of that state of knowing that is what love is. It's all inclusive. It's not that you love this or that. There isn't anything but that. And that knowing, it applies to everything. It applies because it doesn't exclude anything. When I step back in my day, it's not that I exclude, I won't do this, I won't do that. I just recognize where to step forward and how to breathe and where to be. And that's love in action. It's not a discriminating thinking that goes on. It's waiting for that knowing. And it's worth waiting for. It's just worth waiting for, because that is the answer. That is the state of love. And that is what allows us to be here in the world, but not of it, and make this world on earth really as it is in heaven, because it does melt the mortar and the bricks don't interfere. When we are in that state of knowing is that magic solution that dissolves our attention on the bricks and the mortar, so that they're not interference anymore, but they're nothing and can be included in our way of being. That's the state of knowing. That's that field of consciousness, I guess. And I guess the best word, or one of the best words to describe it, is really staying aware, being very aware. And yesterday I was talking about it as being a state of enjoying this awareness, because I see for myself, the more I relax and enjoy that underlying state that's always there, it becomes the awareness of my conscious state. And it's really that simple. That's it. And then as I accept it, so I guess the next thing is accepting it. And I live in recognition of it bringing me, it being the unfoldment of love for whatever is needed by me or the whole world. So it's a very simple thing, but I know that the ego tries to add confusion and complicate it. So for me, it is that simple. And I think the gift is that together, like in this room and in our spiritual families, wherever we're being called, we're practicing it and we're living it because we're relaxing and enjoying each other. We're relaxing and are very present in awareness with one another, within ourselves, and there's no exclusion about it. I think today, if you saw Richard Rohr, he talked about the communion of saints. There's a communion of Christ consciousness of saints, so that there's no need to discriminate. There's a need to move in knowingness. And knowingness is simply enjoying present awareness. So that's what love is to me today.
Present
Thank you, Brother
awareness.
James.
Thank you, Vicky. That was beautiful, as always. I just love how you just pick right up exactly where the essence is of this experience, and then just kind of just very gently bring us right into a feeling that allows us to access it even deeper. So thank you.
Thank you.
And now we turn to Teddy Poppy. Anything you'd like to share today? You always start off that way with a giggle. I love it.
Love
The
is
initial
definitely
giggle.
an experience. And the experience comes before the term love. So we are that, and then we gave it a name. But when you have the experience, all you can see is that outside of it, there is nothing. Within it is everything, and you didn't create yourself. And in the sense of individuality, you can know the experience, but there's no distinction in knowing. Like you don't know it as somebody outside of yourself, but it's definitely the experience. And once you have the experience, it's impossible to go looking for love because you are what love is, as is everyone else. And if you're looking for love, then you're not really looking for love. You're looking for your idea of what love is, rather than what love actually is, as all inclusive and total. Um, and the only thing I can say is, and I get to this almost every day when we talk like this, is all I can do is thank God and thank Jesus for his availability to me and his willingness to show me what it is. Because without a brother to show me, there's no way we could actually know. And that brother has to know himself in order to be able to show it. Otherwise, he's just, trying to make up something that you're not, that he knows and you don't. So I don't really know, but it's definitely an experience. It's an experience of the totality of reality as one, outside of which there is nothing, within which is everything and everyone. It's the glue that holds the reality together. And in that we can never be apart. But it's definitely got to be an experience because there's no amount of words that I'm going to say that's going to convey it to you. The best I could do is, hope that you're intrigued by the words and want the experience for yourself because that'll bring it to you. Not your idea of what it is, but what it really is.
And until we have that experience, we're looking for love in all the wrong places. Instead of the only place, well, not even a place, because it's in every place. But it's the experience. I know we keep saying this day after day after day, but it's really the only thing that needs to be said. It's the experience. It's not the idea. We begin just to let go of all of those ideas and concepts because we feel the approach of the experience. When the heat of the fire gets so great that you can't even hold a thought in your mind, all you can do is merge with that fire. That's the experience. And it's everywhere all the time. We just have to let go of our defenses to have it. So thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Vicky. Let's go ahead and see if there is anyone else real quick, because we're going to put our prayers on the altar in a moment. How about, Alice, I was really feeling your presence this morning. You must have something profound percolating inside you, and I'd love to hear what it is.
You're absolutely right. Eddie, I'm just so touched by what you said, and you bring it always back to experience. And to me, it's a grace, that experience. It's the experience of the grace of love. And it's such, and today, just the word love is giving us this grace. It's really giving us this grace. And we can't define it or play with words. We can do the best we can, but it's definitely it's not just to give, it's to receive. Because as we receive the divine love, we can then give it in the way that God gives it to us. And that's the experience. That's the experience for me. I remember many years ago, many years ago, I literally said to God, what am I here for? I mean, this was when I was in my 20s or something, as we probably all have asked this in our own ways. And I got a very clear answer. You're here to love each other as I love you.
Mhm.
So simple. And that's echoed and echoed and echoed within me for so long. And the strange thing was that after I had that answer and the experience in the grace that was given to me in that moment, I witnessed the world and I saw that it wasn't like that. That we aren't sharing love as God loves us. And I got depressed. I got depressed for a couple of months. I went very low. And it was just a response to what I was seeing on the outside to what I was seeing on the inside, or what I was experiencing on the inside. And then I asked for help and got it. And to this day, I know that we're here to love as we are loved by God. And in some ways, it's incredibly simple. It's the biggest subject, and it's invisible. It's not something we can prove. It's not something science can prove, and yet it's the biggest thing that there is. It's the greatest thing there is. So thank you for sharing, James and Teddy and Victoria, so beautifully today.
Thank you, Alice. I knew you had something great to overflow. And I think because this is so potent that we're going to just spend our whole week on love. Let's just spend our whole week going deeper and deeper into that experience, letting those waves just take us. Let the riptide of love pull us out into that ocean so that we can never, ever possibly swim back into the perpetual world again. So this week we will focus only on love, as we do every moment. And so now let's lay all of our prayers lovingly upon this altar.